Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury Interviews. Today we have fabulous Fab and his son Parker, Cinel, who are each half of this great musical duo that we have in Sudbury called the Moonlight Buskers. And they've been playing together for about 4 years now, and we're going to hear their story today. So, just before we begin, you can find us on Sudstown and join the conversation. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please reach out. Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, Danny, thank you for inviting us to be part of this program. We're super stoked for that.
So am I. I'm very
This is very
excited.
professional. I don't know about you.
So yeah, just to clarify, they are both on the call today, on the show rather, both of them at the same time. So we'll be talking to them both. So how do you start with this? How does this story begin between you guys becoming a band?
Yeah, so I was always involved with music since I was, just a little bit before Parker's 17 now. So when I was about 14, I started playing music on my own, just learning. I never got formal lessons or anything. And at some point, I became a volunteer for this program in Sudbury called Sudbury Youth Rocks. And what it was is we got kids to come in from different walks of life, and we gave them basically a platform to learn and play music, but without formal study. So basically, we had volunteers, kids would come in, and we would just teach them how to play basic songs, and we would do shows around town, and giving the kids an opportunity to showcase their talent. With the idea being that, give kids something productive and positive, and hopefully steer them away from drugs, alcohol, and criminality of a life. So busy kids tend to be, less likely to get into trouble, and if they focus on something that's healthy and positive, increases the chances of them, being successful. So Parker came into my life just over 8.5 years ago, and I was like knee deep in volunteering for this program. So I did it for about 14 years. And when Parker came,
I actually never had any interest in learning how to play music or anything at all. Like I liked music, but I was like, yeah, I'm good just being on the sidelines. I was pretty shy. I was pretty like in
Just
my
shy
little
guy.
bubble, and yeah.
yeah, so he, like, because I'm a single parent, I didn't have anywhere for Parker to go. So he was kind of stuck to come with me every time I would go to volunteer. And, of course, music being such a huge part of my life, I was hoping that he was going to gravitate towards that as well. And but I wasn't going to force it. And maybe I'll let Parker kind of share what inspired him and what got him started.
It was actually one of the instructors. I think his name was John. Uh, he's very how do I put it? He's a very chill guy. And he was very nice. He was very like down to earth, and he helped me. He was like, here. There's these like four chord shapes. They're the exact same shape. You just slide it down the neck, and you just play it in this pattern. And the first song I learned was "Eye of the Tiger" by Survivor. Um, we still do that song. We do it a little differently now, but like that first song is what really sparked it. That first moment ignited the passion of music, and I've just kind of gone from there ever since. So
Yeah, and then what flowed from that was, obviously he had an interest, so then he became part of the program, and he was actually the youngest person at,
for a
not,
while there.
yeah, well, yeah, pretty much from the whole time the program run. I don't think there was anyone ever younger.
Towards
Um,
the end of it, yeah, I think there was
yeah,
one bass player.
okay.
I don't know.
As far as I know, Parker was always the youngest one to start, and basically from there, we started having him play with the other students, and they started learning songs together, and that kind of kept growing. And then the pandemic hit, and
Mm.
yeah,
That turned upside down.
yeah, and I took over the program from the coordinator at the time because he had been doing it for so long and he was getting tired. So I decided, okay, like I really felt passionate about this, so I decided, I'll run with it. And at the time, it was run under the umbrella of the John Howard Society, because they helped provide the funding. And there was a change of director there as well. And unfortunately, her and I didn't have quite the same vision as to what the program was about and what it was to look like. And it was very difficult because the kids would come to practice, everyone would have to wear their masks and social distance. And as you can appreciate, and maybe a lot of the listeners out there, doing music with masks on is not something that's conducive to.
Especially when you have to like sing and you got like, you're breathing, but you're not breathing in as much as you need to be.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah. So it was very challenging. So ultimately, what happened is we just kind of put a pause on the program, and then funding was cut off, so the program essentially ended.
That was
So that
when
left.
was that? What year was that?
So it would have been the first year of the pandemic. So 2021, 22.
2020, I believe, is when it hit Sudbury. Anyways,
So
I don't know.
So I mean, it would have been 5 years ago, because if Parker and I started 4 years ago, it would have been about a year before that when things kind of really took shape in terms of entertainment being cut off, and there's no more concerts and stuff like that. And it's important because this is what kind of started the journey for Parker and I to start playing music, just him and I, because as you recall, during the pandemic, everyone had to, again, social distance, and it was just him and I in our house. So we had nobody else, right? It was just the two of us confined 24/7.
And so to keep us from going insane and like, I don't know, killing each other or something crazy, we decided every week we're going to learn a song, right? And we posted those songs on Facebook. Sometimes we had to take 300 takes of said song to even get a good one. But the point is, we kept working and working, and we got a lot of positive feedback. So towards like the middle to end of the pandemic, when things were starting to kind of clear up between the lockdown and then like the restrictions being lifted and then the lockdown again, you know what I mean? We decided that we're going to go and busk at the parks.
Oh.
Yeah. And so for people that are listening, I always assume everybody knows what busking is, but we still get asked this question all the time. So busking is essentially the art of performance, street performing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just music. Like there's busker festivals in Southern Ontario, and I got to attend a couple of those when I was a little bit older than Parker. I was in my 20s. And it was really cool because what they would do is they would, I think it was in Kitchener that the one I went to, but they also had them in Ottawa. Yeah. And they would shut down the streets, and they would basically just have all these different street performers, whether it be acrobats, drummers, guitar players, mimes, like you name it, like whatever, any kind of art form that you can showcase, there was somebody there. And so the principle behind it is, they're not hired professionals. So basically you put out a hat, you put out a guitar case or whatever, a bucket, anything, and people would tip you if they like what they heard or they saw. And so that's essentially the art of busking is street performing, for tips. Or, what we kind of did was we say, well, we're playing for smiles, but tips are nice too, because we never wanted to ever have anyone expect.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fair to be like, here, like if we walked up to somebody, held out our hat, and like, give us money, we'll play a song.
Yeah,
we'll leave that to the mariachi band.
Yeah, which is probably where a lot of this maybe essentially started, right? Because that's what mariachi bands do. Like, I don't know if they've always been like that. I think it's part of, Mexican culture, but definitely whenever we've traveled and they come to the resorts and stuff like that, they play, and again they kind of expect a tip out of you after they played a song for you. It's kind of understood. So I think, I don't know if that's where the idea originated from, but obviously every culture, as I would imagine, embrace that kind of you know event, for people to perform just for, for either for applause or for money or for whatever, sometimes for food, which we'll get into that later on as we get into, because that's a very huge motivator for Parker.
Hey, how much of a
So
food?
it begs the question then: were
Yeah.
you busking at Moonlight Beach?
Well,
That's the next part of the story.
Okay,
So
sorry to jump the
yeah,
gun.
no,
it's
it's
good.
a good
That's
segue.
good.
Good
Yeah.
segue. The next part of the story is actually how we got our name as the Moonlight Buskers. So we were playing at Moonlight Beach in Sudbury, and we were just, having fun. And I think it was a nice day. There might have been a little bit of wind, but it was overall a nice day.
Yeah.
Pandemic was just cooling off, and a reporter from the Sudbury Star saw us and said, "Hey, can we do an article on you?" And we're like, "Yeah." It's free publicity, free advertisement, and really the first advertisement we've ever had
Yeah.
at that point. Um, Other than us promoting ourselves on Facebook before.
Mm-hmm.
First professional advertisement, I guess I should say.
Mm.
And they called us the Moonlight Buskers in the article.
Really?
So we just kept the name, and it
Wow.
stuck. And we're like, you know what? That's our name now.
Yeah.
A, it saves us from having to, create a cooler name, and B, it saves us from having to create a cooler name because that's a cool name. So,
Yeah, and what's really nice is that this interview is very timely, because the 4-year anniversary was actually a couple of days ago, because I got a reminder on my Facebook feed
of that article that
Yeah.
you saved.
Yeah. So the article came out, I think it was July, 24th or 25th, of 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I know that it's been 4 years that we've kind of started this journey, because that's when the article came out, and that's when it
Really
kind of
kicked off.
that's kind of what solidified us being an actual band. We actually have a name now, so there's something a little bit more to it. And
Yeah, we're not just two guys playing for fun. We're like, oh, this is real now. This is like we're going
Concrete.
somewhere with this.
yeah, so then the next part of the journey is we went to Bell Park, and we're busking there, and this young gentleman named Zach, who used to be as part of the Sudbury Youth Rock program that I mentioned to you before, he heard us play, and Parker had written one of his own songs, and he was performing it, and he was so impressed that he had some studio space set
Sound lab.
at Sound Labs downtown, and he was like producing music. He was doing more like hip hop and
Dubstep.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other different less mainstream stuff. And then
Yeah.
he's like, okay, well, we'll give you a slot. I think he recorded it for free for us.
yeah. So he said, I won't charge you. Come in. We'll get you set up in the studio, and we'll record it, and we'll kind of produce it, and
That was a big step. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
There's like a lot that goes into this.
That was
Yeah,
a
and
song
Park-
that you recorded there?
Say that again?
Was it a song?
Yeah, one it was
Wow.
a song that I had written when I was 13.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's a
Wow.
long time ago.
That's
That's 4 years.
fantastic.
Well, that's 4 years ago. Well, there
Yeah.
you go. That's another time stamp there.
Yeah. And so what was the name of the song again?
It's called "Go the Extra Mile."
Yeah. So if you actually Google it, I think I think I put it out there on YouTube or something like that, but it's definitely out there somewhere. I don't know where, but
Somewhere, yeah.
and it's really funny to listen to it now and see or hear how much Parker has grown and his voice has changed.
When I remember the lyrics to it.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've played some of these.
Yeah. So then, anyway, so it was nice to actually have his song professionally recorded, and then we would use that
Oh yeah.
to go, different places to, to kind of like showcase, here's a young artist who's, he's not only learning his craft, but he wrote a song. So, of course I wanted to get Parker as many, or not just Parker, but both of us, opportunities to, to play together and perform
And the next part of that is, because we're putting this song out there, or we're putting it to different festivals, or putting it to different people. I also got in at Sudbury Music Academy because they did like was it a contest that they did, or was it just like a?
So there's a gentleman there. His name's Rob Patterson. Well, he's a part, like he's a musical duo of Nickel 64 and Dave Carlson, who part owner of the Sudbury Music Academy. They wanted to sponsor a couple of kids who had some talent, but either didn't have the resources or just, for whatever reason, couldn't get formal lessons. So I submitted Parker's song to Rob, and he listened to it with Dave, and they were so impressed with it. They said, "No, we see that Parker has some talent here. We want to help foster that, and and be part of that journey." So they've been kind enough to continue to sponsor him to this day, and now Dan. Who's also so Dan used to be
Dan Moyer. Yeah.
Moyer used to be an instructor there, but now he's partner of the organization. So now he's been working with Parker for the last couple of years, and working with him on his vocals and guitar skills, and a whole bunch of other facets of learning and playing music. So it's a pretty amazing thing when you have other musicians out there who are willing to, put their name out there and take a chance on a young artist and help them on their journey and teach them what they know so that they can improve and be better musicians, and without any real agenda or anything other than just for the love of music and to to help somebody along. So that was a huge game changer.
Yeah, and it's really nice when one thing just flows into the next thing, which flows into the next thing, which just builds, and it's like it feels like there's like this pattern that was meant to happen, and it happened that way, and it's like really satisfying to look back and be like, wow, this happened, then this happened, then I've just grown bigger, I've reached a bigger audience. Now this is happening. Now we're getting gigs.
Should you use Viagra or CBD?
Yeah. Oh. What was that?
Well, I was trying to play your video.
Do you use Viagra?
Hell no.
Was that
I
an
don't know why
advertisement?
that came on.
Oh, geez. That's not good.
No, it's
Bleep
not
that
good.
out.
Is this like totally like raw when you
When you post these?
post it, or is there any
It
editing
usually
that
is,
goes
yeah. I was trying to play your video on YouTube.
on? Oh boy.
Boy, that's funny. Anyway, let's pretend that didn't happen. Maybe I'll cut it out of there.
Okay, sounds good. If not, it's still pretty funny.
Yeah.
Do you use Viagra?
I don't know why I got that. I
That's
never
getting
get
too
that. I
personal,
mean,
Danny. Come on.
there was one time I had somebody else's phone, and I was getting those ads, and I'm like, this is not for me. Like, this is not catered to me. I don't have any issues or whatever. But so
There's
that
no
is
judgment here, Danny. We don't judge. We're judgment-free house. Even if there was or there wasn't, it doesn't matter. I mean, these things come up regardless, and we understand that's just the world we live in.
Ads are very random sometimes.
Yeah, and it's the metaverse. Sometimes things are said and maybe in joke, and then all of a sudden now you're getting all these links and advertisement, even though you never intended to be the recipient of that kind of
yeah.
yeah.
Well, we got us to
Anyway.
laugh. That's a good
Yeah,
thing.
that's good.
Maybe
So
I'll
yeah,
leave it.
so like Parker was saying, it started the momentum for us kind of, getting opportunities. And I think the next part of that story is that we were playing at the Sudbury Market. So the Sudbury Market used to have a budget for entertainment, and then um, coming out of the pandemic, obviously the market relied on you know people actually out shopping and being face to face. So you can imagine the market was shut down. So they lost a lot of their funding because they didn't have vendors to pay into, you know, for them to run the whole program. So, but they've always loved having music at the market because it attracts people, it gets people in a good mood, and it's always been um, something that's been part of the whole experience. When you go to the market, you go there, you look for artisans, you look for bakery items, that kind of stuff, and then you listen to some music in the background. It kind of just enhances the experience. So Jane, who's the market manager, said, look, we can't afford to pay you guys right now. Maybe in the future, once we get our funding back, that can change. But, you're more than welcome to come here, every Saturday and just play.
And back then they were doing it on Saturdays and Thursdays too. Or Wednesday.
No, Thursdays.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thursdays.
in the summer. Yeah.
In the summer.
Yeah, and back then it was being run at the old CN station on Elgin Street.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so they actually had a stage there, and so we would show up at 8:30 in the morning before it started, and we would set up and we would play until sometimes 1. So that's where Parker learned how to be very, very resilient as a musician, because for a couple of reasons.
You can't take any breaks. Well, people are coming and going all the time. You don't know if you're going to have an audience or you're not going to have an audience, or when people are going to tip.
Yeah. So you kind of had to just keep going, and so that was very important for our journey because it forced us to start learning a lot of songs.
Yeah. Needed a lot more material
and a lot of different styles because
who's going to walk through those gates.
Yeah, you don't know if it's somebody in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You had to be able to have songs that would appeal to a wide group. So, and I've always been impressed by Parker on this, is that he's never once been resistant to learning stuff that let's face it, most teenagers probably would not only turn away from, but let alone learn how to play. So, he learned music from Johnny Cash and Neil Diamond, and stuff to the 80s like Bryan Adams, the 90s like Guns N' Roses. Like he was always open to learning whatever. And because he was like that, and because he started getting some recognition, and he started seeing that people do tip for stuff like that, and people will stop and sing along or clap, or kids will come along and just be watching, like total bewilderment. Here's this young person on the stage with a guitar singing, and it was kind of cool. And I think what made it extra special is being a father-son duo is not as common to see, right? Like you see a lot of bands out there, there's a husband and wife or siblings, or just friends,
guys just in a van traveling across the country.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I was also so much younger than literally everyone else in the industry, especially at the time. Like I'm kind of catching up to some of them now. But back then when I was like 13, 14, 15, like people were like, this 14-year-old is playing on a stage in front of maybe 50 people at a given moment at the market there.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not easy for people to do. And believe me, it took me a while to even get to that point. I used to be like really shy. I used to just play the songs and get the songs over with. But I've been trying to incorporate more like interacting with the crowd and stuff like that. So as the more I play, the more I develop, and the more I add new techniques, add new jokes to my list. Sometimes,
Yeah. And I think another huge influence on that is Rod Bazinet, who kind of took Parker under his wing, and I'm sure a lot of listeners who know Rod Bazinet is, and I know you do because Keith and Rod play all the time, and actually Keith, Rod, and I have played together in a couple of bands too. So it's nice how the music world in Sudbury, like, yeah, we're all kind of connected in some way, and it's really inspiring when you have other musicians support younger musicians. And Rod, would share the story how when he was Parker's age, that's how he started, by busking and just playing on the streets for tips. So whenever Rod would perform somewhere and we'd come watch and support him, he would invite Parker on the stage to play 2 or 3 songs, which again gave Parker, more exposure, and other people got to see his talent, and that opened the door for him to get other gigs and stuff like that.
Because Rod's big enough in the community that people will go to see Rod, So when we go to see Rod and support him and he gets me on the stage, there's already people there listening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to wrestle with the crowd for them to pay attention to me because they're already there. They're like listening already.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, one of the big things that Rod did for me is he got people to listen.
Yeah, that sounds great. So we have about 7.5 minutes left, and this next question will be the capper, and I call it the daily segment.
Okay.
What is one thing that you feel would make Sudbury greater?
I'll let Parker think about what his answer is going to be. For me, I think what's going to make Sudbury even more greater than what it already is have more opportunities for young people to be able to perform and kind of work on their craft. There's not a lot of opportunities. There's not enough like matinees for younger people. Like there's bars and restaurants and stuff like that have entertainment, but there's not a lot of places that do like matinee entertainment, which like early in the afternoon, because obviously for kids, they sometimes not appropriate for them to play at certain venues, and so Sudbury's got a lot of limitations, and it'd be nice if you know the city would help maybe some of the establishments like coffee houses and stuff like that, and support some of that and say, let's get some young talent in there to play for an hour, and you know maybe have some sort of tax benefit, or use some tax dollars to help inspire the youth, and that money can go for them to keep working on learning their craft and towards lessons and instruments and stuff like that. So in my view, that's how we can make Sudbury greater, by really focusing and helping the youth stay more focused, do positive things, kind of like what I was doing before with the program, but just maybe in a different way.
Yeah, and to add to that, I personally think that um, the music community should be a welcoming place where we all have our own spot to shine. And sadly, it seems, especially in today's world, that there's more politics involved in the music industry than there really ever was before. A lot of these big shot artists from like our small hometown, they have this mindset about them that they are above people, and we are all equals. We are all musicians. We're all trying to entertain people. We are all trying to have fun and make our own livings, if that's what you're trying to do with your music career. um and it should be more inclusive. We should let people have their moment to shine. Let people take the stage like Rod did for me.
Mm-hmm.
Let people you know negotiate with people. Like if you have a time slot, but the other musician who's lesser known than you may not be able to make their other time slot, you can negotiate with that. You can make things work, and we all work around that. And I feel like that can make Sudbury a lot greater.
Good answer. Yeah, I love that. Sudbury Interviews, everyone, and I really want to thank you both for your time. It was a pleasure. I doubt there will ever be another show with two guests at the same time. Could happen, but
It's
Well,
a little
we're
chaotic. It's a little chaotic.
I love it. I love it, guys. What a great idea.
Thank you for the opportunity, Danny. We appreciate that so much.
Yeah, thank you, Danny.
My pleasure, my friends. We'll see you down the road. See you out on playing shows and stuff.
Sounds like a plan.
To the listeners, thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.